Hi y'all, and welcome back to the Ingrain Workshop. I'm Rick, and today is a special day. I feel like a kid in a candy store. Christmas has definitely come early here at the Ingrain Workshop. It's the middle of June in Central Florida, and it is caliente. That's hot for you non-Floridians. But have no fear, because Mr. Cool is here. Let's get started. Okay, so when I came in the workshop this morning, this is what I found under my tree. This is a MrCool mini split system. It has a heat pump for heating and cooling. It's a ductless mini split system. It's 24,000 BTU and it's rated at a 22 SEER. This particular package came with a line set cover. It comes with an interior unit, which I'll call air handler. It also comes with a thermostat and a Wi-Fi connection so you can control the air handler with your smartphone, and it also works with Google Assistant and Amazon Alexis. And then it also comes with an exterior unit, which I'll refer to as a condensing unit. And this also comes with a 25-foot pre-charged line set that will run from the condensing unit to the interior air handler unit. Now I'll leave a link in the video description below to where you can pick up this exact package. It runs just a little over $2,000. But I would encourage everyone to use the affiliate link when purchasing anything on anyone's YouTube channel, because that's just the way the affiliate links work. It doesn't cost you a penny more to buy something through an affiliate link versus going directly to Amazon and purchasing it directly through Amazon. So, and it doesn't matter for this YouTube channel or any YouTube channel. When you purchase anything, try to use an affiliate link. Like I mentioned before, it doesn't cost you a penny more. And why not give a little commission to support a YouTube channel versus giving that money to Jeff Bezos, a multi-billionaire? I know it's a tough decision, but would you rather give it to a YouTube creator versus a multi-billionaire? You make that call, but it's an easy decision for me. So let's start unpacking. Okay, so this first box is the line set cover box. This particular line set cover is from Line Guard, specifically for a MrCool unit. It's a 4.5 inch line set. A little pro tip here. I probably didn't need to buy the line set. This particular line set has a value, I think, of around $170. You can pick up an off-brand line set through Amazon for probably about half that, and I'll leave a link in the description below to those as well. Or you can just use a plastic PVC gutter from your big box store and just score the back of the gutter and basically just encapsulate it over your line set. I had thought about doing that, but this came with the package that I got, and that's the only reason why I'm using this line set cover. Otherwise, I probably would have went with one of the non-brand cheaper ones, or went with just a plastic gutter from the big box store. Okay, the box was pretty beat up during the shipment, but everything seems to be fine inside. This particular package comes with 12 foot of line set, which can be a problem for some people because you do have 25 feet of line set. So if you've only got 12 feet of cover, you might need more. So you might want to consider that when you're purchasing your line set cover. It comes with a reducer, a couple of couplings, a 90 and an L that's going to come directly off the wall. And then it comes with a back plate, a black back cover. So the back cover will mount on the wall, and then your top cover will just fit over it and clamp together. Like I said, you could very easily use a plastic piece of gutter from your big box store and just score the back of the gutter and then just open it up and place it over your line set. That would work just as well. But like I said, this was part of the package, and that's the only reason why I got it. So for now, we're going to just set this aside because this will be one of the last things that we install. So I'm going to just set this to the side, and then we'll open up the interior unit. Okay, so this is the interior unit. Like I said, it's a 24,000 BTU unit. It's rated up to a 22 SEER rating, and it comes with a wireless mini stat, and then it also comes with Wi-Fi capability, so you can control it with your smartphone, and it can also be controlled with Amazon Alexis and Google Assistants. So this is the interior unit, what I refer to as the air handler. So let's open it up and see what we have inside. Okay, so this is the interior unit. This is the bottom of the unit. This is going to be the front face of the unit. And then on the back of the unit, you'll probably go ahead and see it's got the template that you use to hang on the wall. It's pre-mounted here on the back of the unit. So I'll have to remove this mounting bracket. So you can see this is fresh out of the box, and I can already see that this mounting bracket here is bent. And again, this is brand new out of the box. So far the quality control has not been the best. And again, MrCool is not sponsoring this video in any way. This is strictly subjective criticism. But you can see the bottom mounting bracket over here is clipped in and appears to be correct and right. This mounting bracket over here, this is the bottom of the unit, the clip. I'm going to have to bend this back and basically fix this. So anyway, I just wanted to show you guys. It's definitely not a deal breaker. It's, you know, something that I can easily fix, I think, but I just want to note everything that is going on here with the unpacking of the unit. So I think you can kind of see here what it's supposed to look like and what this side looks like. So I can just bend that in. It shouldn't be a big problem, but I just wanted to note that. So this is the mounting bracket that will be mounted against the wall like this. And then you have different lined up holes so you can identify your stud locations on your wall prior to installing this, and then check for level just to make sure it's level. But we'll get that mounted here shortly. This is the line set for right now. I'm just going to leave that in here. This is your communication cable and also your electrical. This particular unit is a 220 volt unit. So we're going to have 2 hot legs and a ground going to this unit, and then you've got a communication cable as well. This is your template. As you can see, it was upside down, so don't make the mistake thinking that it's just garbage or cardboard. Make sure you flip it around and note that this is the wall template that we're going to use to mount the mounting bracket to. And as you can see, they do have the correct wall template that matches the actual mounting bracket. So that's good to know. It also gives you the location of where you're going to need to drill your 3.5 inch hole, which will penetrate the exterior wall for your line set. And this is the pipes that will connect your indoor unit to your outdoor unit. And then it also gives you the outline of the physical indoor air handler unit of where it's going to fit. So you can see the mounting bracket only takes up this much space, but the whole unit will actually take up a little bit more, and it will cover the 3.5 inch hole that you're going to drill through your wall. So we'll set this off to the side for now. It also comes with two sound dampening pads. These will be installed at the connections where the line set attaches to the interior unit. So you've got one set of dampening pads, one dampening pad for each, your vapor line and your liquid line. Your liquid line, of course, is your high pressure line, which is smaller, and then your vapor line, which is your low pressure line. So that's what these are for. We'll set these off to the side. This here is the USB smart controller. This will be installed inside the front of the unit, and this is how we'll be able to control the unit with our smartphone, and we'll do that toward the end of the installation. This is our wireless MrCool mini stat. I'm going to mount this on the wall. I'm going to mount this probably, I'll refer to the installation instructions, but I don't want to be right next to the unit. I want this to be kind of in the middle of the workshop, or maybe at the opposite end of the workshop. That way I know that the workshop is being cooled all the way across the workshop and not just there at the MrCool unit. It comes with some extra pipe insulation, which I'm assuming will go at the connection points. And this will cover up the dampening pads that I had mentioned earlier. These are some charcoal filters, I think, that go on the front of the unit. These will be installed toward the end. This is our remote control. This remote control will probably be installed at the front door of the workshop. That way, as I'm exiting the workshop, I can adjust the controls if I want to lower it, raise it, shut it off. But I'll probably have it all pre-programmed and have different schedules already pre-programmed into my smartphone, so I probably won't use this that much. This is the bracket for the remote control. This is a wall-mounted bracket. It will just get mounted on the wall, and then the controller just fits inside. Then it comes with some mounting hardware, the batteries for the remote, and that's it. So that's everything that was included with the interior unit. Next, we'll unpack the exterior unit or the condensing unit. Okay, this is the outdoor unit. It's a 24,000 BTU. It's rated for up to 1,000 square feet. I have approximately 750 square feet here in the workshop, but I do have 10-foot high ceilings. So to compensate for the higher ceilings, I went with the 24,000 BTU, which again is rated at 1,000 square feet. So let's get this open. Okay, so as you can see, included in the box appears to be the 25 feet of pre-charged line set. And that's the great thing about these MrCool pretty much 100% DIY units, is that the line set is pre-charged from the factory. So basically all you have to do is connect the line set to the condensing unit, and then connect it to the interior air handler unit, and you're pretty much done. On other mini splits, the condensing unit comes pre-charged, the line set does not. So what you have to do is, after you connect your line set to your condensing unit and your air handling unit, then you have to pull a vacuum, and then once you pull a vacuum, then you can release the refrigerant from the condensing unit, and then it fills up the line set and the interior air handler unit. So if you're not comfortable doing that, I 100% recommend getting the MrCool DIY unit, because there are no special tools required to install this unit. Okay, so this is the condensing unit or the outdoor unit. You can pretty much see for a 24,000 BTU, you know, it's a fairly large unit. The last unit I installed was a 14,000 BTU unit, which was, you know, a lot smaller. But, you know, that's just the price you have to pay to get the higher BTU and to be able to cool a larger space. So we had the 25-foot line set. It also comes with This is the line sleeve. So this is the sleeve that once we drill the 3.5 inch wall through the exterior of the building, we'll slide this through the hole, and then we'll take and measure and cut, mark it, and then cut it to length, and then you'll use this as your flange to cover up the open end. It also comes with some sealing clay, which is kind of like Play-Doh or putty. And once you run your line set, you'll be running your refrigerant lines through here, your high pressure, your low pressure. You'll be running your condensate pipe along with your electrical all through this opening, and then you'll use this putty to basically fill in the voids, the open voids, to keep bugs and to keep your temperature from escaping the building, and it seals up the opening. I'm probably going to put silicone caulk around the opening as well, just additional insurance, and just to make sure that no moisture gets inside the walls. This is the condensate piping. It's just a plastic PVC type of flexible hose, and this will go and connect the interior unit to the exterior. It doesn't connect to the exterior unit, but it does connect to the interior unit, and then you run this outside and it just discharges on the ground all your condensate. Then it comes with a Allen wrench. This Allen wrench will be used to open up the valves on the condensing unit to allow for the refrigerant to fill up the condensing unit from the line set. It comes with 4 rubber vibration isolators, and these vibration isolators go on the bottom feet of the condensing unit, so when you do install it on a concrete pad or whatever pad you're going to use, it just makes the system more quiet. These are quiet systems to begin with, but they are really quiet when you add these vibration isolators. So that's about all the accessories that come with the unit. I think I do have everything based on what I see here, so I feel comfortable that we can start installing the unit. Okay, so I'm going to be installing the air handler unit here at the back door to the workshop. I'm going to try to mount it above. I think they recommend between 7 to 8 feet above the ground, and then having at least 6 inches of space between the top of the unit and your ceiling, which, as you can see, I'm not going to have an issue there. I am going to have to remove this trim piece prior to installing the mounting bracket. I'm also going to have to scoot over probably some of my lumber, but I'll get the template set up here and figure out what I'm going to have to modify, and then we'll get the mounting bracket installed. And I will show a picture, because I did take a picture before I installed the T111 siding. I knew I was going to put the air handler here, so I went ahead and put some 2x4 blocking, because this is a metal building and I don't have a traditional wall where you've got studs on 16 inches or 24 inches on center. These just have metal studs. I think it may be 48 inches. I think they even vary. So I did put some wood blocking up here just so I would know and have something to securely fasten the air handler to. And I'll show a picture of that. And then we'll get started on laying out the wall template and then the mounting bracket.
Now with the wall template in place, I can take an awl and just mark the right hand side and the left hand side of where the air handler is going to hit on my trim piece. This way I can come back with the oscillating tool or the Dremel and cut the trim so it'll be the same size as the interior air handler. Now I'm just going to square up my mark here, and then I'm going to break out my Dremel and start cutting the trim. And when you're using an oscillating tool, it cuts through this. It's just cheap pine. It cuts through it pretty quick, and you can tell when it bottoms out up against the T111, so pretty much when you've.
Okay, so now I've cut the trim piece. So as you can see, I went ahead and cut the edges off the template so it's the exact same size as the air handler. So just to confirm that I did cut the trim pieces at the proper width. So the template now fits in, so the air handler should fit in with no problem. I did center it with the door, but I did have to offset it a little bit. Okay, so I took just a small drywall screw and screwed it here in the center hole of the template just to hold the template up. I've got a 4-foot level. I'm going to make sure that the template is level. And now that I've got the template level, I can mark the holes, the mounting holes, with an awl. You can use a screw, you can use a Phillips head screwdriver. So I'm only marking one hole each, one at the top left and one at the top right of the template. And now I'll put the actual mounting bracket up here. I'll screw the left-hand side in first, leave it loose, then level the actual mounting bracket to the wall, make sure that it's level, and then I'll screw in the right, and then we'll screw in a couple more screws. Now, since I've got 2x6 backing behind my T111 siding, I don't have to worry about trying to find studs, but if you're doing this in a traditional wood frame wall, you would need to be able to locate your studs and then use the appropriate holes that are lined up with your studs. Also, before I take the template down, I also need to mark the center location of the 3.5-inch hole. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that now. Now I should be able to take the cardboard template down and then put up the actual wall bracket. Alright, so now we're going to install the wall bracket, and I've marked my hole locations. So this is my left, this is my right. Okay, now that I've got the mounting bracket level and it's lined up with my hole on the right, I'll go ahead and set this screw in. So now I've got it pretty much installed. It's level, the bubbles are dead in the middle. Now I'm just going to come down here and just put in some extra screws just to make sure that the bracket's not going to go anywhere. And then the next thing I've got marked over here is the hole for the refrigerant piping. And again, that's a 3.5-inch diameter hole. And as soon as we finish the wall mount, we'll come over here and drill the hole for the refrigerant piping. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to drill a pilot hole where our 3.5-inch hole is going to go. We want to take and make sure that we're going at a downward angle. So I'm just going to use the little torpedo level and then just slowly tilt the drill so I'm about a bubble off level, and then just slowly drill. Okay, now with the pilot hole drilled, I can take the 3.5-inch hole saw on the drill and go ahead and drill out the hole. So we'll go ahead and start that.
So with the hole drilled out, I inserted the plastic sleeve, and now I'm just coming back with the Sawzall with a plastic metal cutting blade on it and just trimming off the sleeve flush with the rib on the exterior of the siding. Next, I'm going to put the exterior flange over the pipe sleeve and then come back and caulk around the entire opening with silicone caulk just to make sure that the entire sleeve opening is sealed up.
Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do now that the sleeve is installed through the wall, and I went back and put silicone caulk around the exterior of the metal building, so that's all sealed up nice and tight. We're ready to go. Now we have to prepare the unit to install on the wall. So we've got to prepare the refrigerant pipe, and what we've got to do is rotate this pipe 90 degrees and have it sticking straight out the right side of the unit. So I'm going to take just a flathead screwdriver and take this cover off. And now I'm going to take the refrigerant lines and trying to keep it secure here at the joint, and then I'm just going to rotate slowly 90 degrees. Okay, so now my refrigerant pipe is sticking 90 degrees out the back of the unit. The next thing I'm going to do, I've got the high pressure. So as far as the orientation of the refrigerant lines, you've got the liquid, high pressure, smaller diameter pipe on the top, the low pressure vapor pipe on the bottom. Next, we're going to take and rotate our condensate line. And again, the way the instructions read is that the condensate line and the low pressure lines should both be on the bottom, with the high pressure line on the top. And then the electrical will be ran on the top of everything. So right now, I'm just going to take some electrical tape just to take the condensate to the bottom here of the refrigerant line, and then just prepare it to go through the wall. Okay, so I did all that by myself, including trying to film the shot. As you can see, I've trimmed the trim back, so you can see it just dead ends right there at the edge of the unit. Same thing on both sides. So I think it looks good. Okay, so now I'm going to take this clay putty and basically fill in the cavity or the void made by the piping. And this is going to fill in the gap so you don't have any heating or cooling loss through this opening.
Now I'm going to take the 25-foot pre-charge line set and just start unrolling it here at the back carport at the rear of the workshop. This is where the condensing unit's going to be installed, so this is where I'll be tying in the indoor air handler to the exterior condensing unit. So just take your time and unroll it. It's nice to see exactly how long it's going to be to get an idea of how much you're going to probably need to leave rolled up. I'm not going to unroll the whole thing. I'm just going to get a feel of what I need and then stop. I'm going to connect the pre-charged line set to the line set coming from the indoor air handler. First thing you need to do is to remove the protective caps that are on the end. So I'm connecting the low pressure vapor side of the system first, and then just using 2 large crescent wrenches, because I think these fittings they're at least an inch. Using those to tighten the fittings, and then I'm just going to repeat the process for the high pressure liquid line set. And they do have torque specs on these, but I didn't have an open-end torque wrench, so I went ahead and just tightened them as tight as I could. You definitely don't want to over tighten these fittings. Okay, so here are the sound dampening pads. I'm just going to use 1 pad for each fitting. I'm going to use a hammer drill and a masonry bit to drill out the holes for my my anchors that are going to anchor the condensing unit to the carport. So with the holes drilled, I'm going to use, I think, 3/8 inch wedge anchors here. And then once I get the wedge anchors installed, I'll lay out the vibration isolators that go underneath the feet of the condensing unit. Definitely want to make sure that you get those installed, and then I'll come back here and then just set the condensing unit over the anchors and then just tighten everything down. Now I'm just going to take a Phillips head and remove the protective cover over the condensing unit valves to give me access to the refrigerant lines. We're going to connect the line set to the condensing unit in the same fashion that we did to the air handling unit. You remove the protective caps first, and then you just hand tighten a couple of threads on there, and then you tighten them down with the crescent wrenches. And you do start at the bottom valve on the condensing unit, and then you do the top valve. Once you've got them tightened down, then you come back with some soapy water, make sure there are no leaks, and you're good to go. We're going to remove the valve covers here with a wrench. Once we get the valve covers removed, we're going to use the Allen wrench that was provided with the MrCool unit, and we're going to open the valve, and you'll be able to hear it hissing once it's open. And you do have to open the top valve first, and then it's just a matter of rinse and repeat for the second valve. You just remove the second valve cover, use the Allen wrench provided, and open up that valve. And again, you want to make sure that they're open all the way, but do not, over open them. Open them until you feel it stop, and that's as far as you need to go. With the refrigerant piping done, I'm now going to remove the electrical cover from the condensing unit. So the terminals marked 1, 2, and 3 will be the electrical connections from the indoor air handler to the condensing unit. And the terminals marked L1 and L2 will come from our electrical disconnect from the sub panel. I'm going to take the red electrical wire from the air handling unit and connect it to the number 1 terminal here at the condensing unit. And this is how the instructions read. And then you're going to take the white and connect it to the number 2 terminal. And then you're going to take the black wire and connect it to the number 3 terminal. and then you'll be left with just a ground, and there's a green ground nut there on the right, which you'll take your ground and terminate that into that ground nut, and then that pretty much completes the electrical wiring that connects the indoor unit to the outdoor condensing unit. And then the only thing you're left with is your line 1 or L1 and L2 connections and your ground, which comes from the disconnect. I'm going to take one of the hot legs coming from the disconnect and wire it up to the L1 terminal. And it doesn't matter which one you use, either the black or the red. They're both hot legs. Each leg is carrying 110 volts. So it doesn't matter which one really goes to L1 or L2. I just like to always keep the black on the left and the red on the right. So once I get the red hot leg tied into the L2 termination here, then all I have left to do is just to terminate the ground, and the ground screw is right next to the L2 terminal. So once I get this ground screw terminated, that will complete all of the electrical here at the condensing unit. So the condensing unit is wired from the condensing unit back to the indoor air handler, and it's wired from the condensing unit back to the electrical disconnect. And then the only thing left will be to complete the wiring at the electrical disconnect, which is what we'll do next. And also to note, I did install all the electrical wiring in flex hose, or I think it's an electrical whip. I don't know if it's called seal tight or something like that, but it's a plastic conduit that's flexible and just easy to maneuver. And that's what I used on both electrical wires coming into the condensing unit. Then put the electrical cover back on the condensing unit, and you can seal it up, and you're pretty much done with the electrical here at the condensing unit. And then we'll move over to the disconnect and complete the wiring over at the disconnect. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is the electrical. So at my panel, I went ahead and installed a 30 amp breaker. So, I installed this breaker back when I rewired the sub panel, so I just taped it off to make sure I never turned it on. I'm not going to turn it on right now. But I'm just making sure that it's in the off position before I go out there and wire it up. And it is a 30 amp 2-pole breaker because we're going to be running 220 volt to the MrCool unit. Okay, so this is the Romex that I have coming from that 30 amp breaker that's inside the sub panel in the workshop. I've got 3 wire and a ground. I only really needed 2 wire and a ground. I don't think I need the neutral, so I'm probably just going to put a wire nut on it and leave it here at the disconnect. And then I've got a red and a black. This is going to be each 110 volts for a total of 220 volts, and then my ground. So the way your disconnect here is set up, it's just set up so a service technician, if they have to work on the unit, instead of having to go to the breaker to shut it off, they can just pull this. And what they do is when they pull the disconnect, they pull it and then they reverse it, and there's an on and an off. And you can see the on is upside down and the off is right side up. So then when you put this back in here, it doesn't make connection with the connectors, so it stays disconnected, and then the service tech can work on the condensing unit. So right now I'm going to leave it in the off position and go ahead and wire everything up. So what you've got here is you've got 4 hot connections and 2 grounds. And the 2 outside connections are your line side connections. This is considered your line. Coming from the breaker, this is your line side. The 2 inside connections are your load side connections. These are going to be the hot wires that go from the disconnect to the condensing unit. So right now we're going to wire up the 2 line side hot wires, and then we're also going to hook up the ground, and then we're just going to terminate the neutral here with a wire nut, and then that will complete the line side of this disconnect. And again, it doesn't matter which leg goes to which terminal. They're all 110 volts. And this is 10 gauge wire. So now I've got about a 1/2 inch of the insulation stripped off. I'm going to install the black here at this terminal. Again, I try to keep the wires as neat as possible. You can go ahead and dry fit the red hot leg. Now we'll strip off about a 1/2 inch of insulation. So now we have our 2 hot legs from the sub panel installed. Now our ground is installed. I'm going to go get a wire nut and just put a wire nut on the end of this neutral, and we'll just terminate the neutral here at the disconnect, and then we're set. The only thing left we have to do is install the 2 hot legs from the condensing unit and the ground nut. I'm just going to go ahead and loosen these terminals, so then we'll be ready when it's time to install the load side of the disconnect. So other than that wire nut on the neutral, the line side of this disconnect is wired, and then we'll finish it here in a second. I'm going to take the ground wire coming from the condensing unit to the disconnect and go ahead and terminate it here in the disconnect. Then I'm going to take my hot legs and terminate each one of those into the load side of the disconnect. And these are the 2 interior terminations within the disconnect. And once I get both hot legs terminated, that will complete the wiring here at the disconnect. And again, it doesn't matter which leg goes into which termination. They're all 110 volts. So it doesn't matter. I just like to keep the black on the left and the red on the right. That's just my personal preference, but it really doesn't matter. And once I get the red hot wire terminated here, the disconnect will be completely wired, and we should be ready to fire up the unit and see what happens. Okay, so we have finished the wiring at the condensing unit, and we wired the disconnect which comes from the sub panel, and then also ran the wiring from the disconnect to the main condensing unit, and then also ran the wiring from the indoor air handler to the condensing unit. So all the electrical now is buttoned up, all the refrigerant lines are buttoned up, and it's ready to go ahead and turn on the breaker, and then let's try out the unit, and we'll test out the unit. So I've got a 30 amp breaker here at the sub panel. We're going to go ahead and turn that on. And I turn the power button on the remote. The remote says 76. You can see the fins opening up on the bottom of the unit, and it should start blowing out air. We're supposed to do a test run. I believe you go through the different functions. So you start with your cooling function, and you lower it all the way down and let it run. So we're going to go to the cooling function, and we're going to lower it as low as we can, and that is 62 degrees. And we're going to let that run for 5 minutes at 62. That's going to be a wrap. Let's stick a fork in this one because it is done. So like I mentioned earlier, it's June in Central Florida, and outside it is caliente, but inside it's frio. That's cold for you non-Floridians. Thanks to MrCool. I hope you like this video. I hope it helps you out in your DIY project. If it does, please leave it a thumbs up, please subscribe, and please ring that notification bell. I'll leave a link in the description below to all the products and equipment that I use for this installation. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, please use the affiliate links. Again, it doesn't cost you a penny more, and a little bit of the proceeds do go to the YouTube channel. And when you rather go to the YouTube channel instead of Jeff Bezos, a multi-billionaire. So with that said, this is the Ingrain Workshop. I'm Rick, aka MrCool. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Please share the video and have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time.